Good afternoon, Bobcats. Welcome back to what I really hope will be a fantastic week for you at the Helena Middle School. On this week's Bob lesson, I'm going to continue talking about part 2 of the question, have smartphones ruined a generation? In talking to a few of your advisor teachers, I'm hearing that there was a lot of healthy discussion back and forth on this topic, which is great. I know some of you aren't going to agree with this or maybe agree with everything stated in this person's article, and that's okay. The true point of Bob lessons is to make you critically think about things. The true point of education isn't just to regurgitate and be a drone, a thoughtless drone. The true point of education is to do your own thinking and make your own informed decision on things. So let's get rock and roll on this Bob lesson. Hope everybody goes out and makes it a great week at the Helena Middle School. And we are off and running on part 2 of Have Smartphones Destroyed a Generation? But first, let's be our best this week at HMS. Let's be Bob. Let's be safe. Let's be responsible. Let's be respectful. Let's be a learner. Picking up where we left off from last week, now we're going to switch gears and talk about the effect social media and having social media in the palm of your hand via a smartphone has had on this iGeneration. Social networking sites like Facebook or Instagram promise to connect us to friends, and that was the original premise behind social media sites like Facebook and Instagram. But the portrait of iGen teens emerging from the data is one of a lonely, dislocated generation. We're in the highlighted part on the left. Teens who visit social networking sites every day but see their friends in person less frequently are the most likely to agree with the following statements. A lot of times I feel lonely, I often feel left out of things, and I often wish I had more good friends. Teens' feelings of loneliness spiked in 2013 and have remained high ever since. This doesn't always mean that on an individual level, kids who spend more time alone online are lonelier than kids who spend less time alone. Teens who spend more time on social media also spend more time with their friends in person on average. Switching over here to the other side, but at the generational level, when teens spend more time on smartphones and less time on in-person social interactions, loneliness is more common. So even though these social networking sites are supposed to bring us together and make us feel more connected, it's actually having the opposite effect. So is depression. Once again, the effect of screen activities is unmistakable. The more time teens spend looking at screens, the more likely they are to report symptoms of depression. 8th graders, which is your guys' age, who are heavy users of social media, increase their risks of depression by 27%. While those who play sports, go to religious services, or even do homework more than the average teen cut their risk significantly. Pretty eye-opening. So what's the connection between smartphones and the apparent psychological distress this generation is experiencing? For all of their power to link kids day and night, social media also exasperates the age-old teen concern about being left out. Today's teens may go to fewer parties and spend less time together in person, and we know they do that because of their devices. But when they do congregate, let's get together, they document their hangouts relentlessly on Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. Those not invited to come along are keenly aware of it. Accordingly, the number of teens who feel left out has reached an all-time high across age groups. Like the increase in loneliness, the upswing in feeling left out has been swift and significant. This trend has been especially steep among girls. 48% more girls said they often felt left out in 2015 than in 2010, compared with just 27% more boys. Why is this? Well, girls use social media more often, the research says, giving them additional opportunities to feel excluded and lonely when they see their friends or classmates getting together without them. I hear about this all the time in my office of people that found out that their friends were hanging out without them or had a birthday party or a sleepover, and they never would have known it if it wasn't for it getting documented on Snapchat and Instagram. Social media can levy a psychic tax on the teen doing the posting as well. As the teen that was interviewed for this often said, I'm nervous about what people think and are going to say, and what gets cut off here, she says, it sometimes bugs me when I do post something on social media and I don't get enough likes soon enough. Girls also have Girls have also borne the brunt of the rise in depressive symptoms among today's teens. Boys' depressive symptoms increased by 21% from 2002 to 2015, while girls increased by a whopping 50%, more than twice as much. Let's skip over to the other highlighted part. These more dire consequences for teenage girls could also be rooted in the fact that they're more likely to experience cyberbullying. Boys tend to bully one another physically, while girls are more likely to do so by undermining a victim's social status or relationships. We call that relational aggression, and this is actually very accurate. Social media give middle and high school girls a platform on which to carry out the style of aggression they favor, ostracizing and including other girls around the clock. So what this slide is showing is that social media and having social media in the palm of your hands has given girls even easier access to bully one another in a way that is more natural for their gender. Therefore, they are seeing the statistics, and the research is showing that girls are more and more showing depressive symptoms because of this. Very, very alarming stuff. For you visual learners, I have not forgot about you. Here is a graph. And the title of this graph is More Likely to Feel Lonely. This is the research that they did on how often they feel left out in the black and how often teens feel lonely. And if you look at the bar graph of 8th, 10th, and 12th graders who agree or mostly agree with the statement, I often feel left out on things, or a lot of times I feel lonely, you can see that starting in 2007 and more up to 2010, it just goes off the chart. So these phones that are supposed to connect us and make us feel more united are actually having the opposite effect. Last but not least, we're going to look at the effects of sleep. It may be a comfort, but the smartphone is cutting into teens' sleep. Many now sleep less than 7 hours most nights. Sleep experts say that teens should get about 9 hours of sleep a night. A teen who is getting less than 7 hours a night is significantly sleep deprived. Highlighted, 57% more teens were sleep deprived in 2015 than in 1991. In just the 4 years from 2012 to 2015, 22% more teens failed to get 7 hours of sleep. And if we hit across to the other side, the increase is suspiciously timed. Once again, starting out when most teens got a smartphone. 2 national surveys show that teens who spend 3 or more hours a day on electronic devices are 28% more likely to get less than 7 hours of sleep than those who spend fewer than 3 hours, and teens who visit social media sites every day are 19% more likely to be sleep deprived. A meta-analysis of studies on electronic device use among children found similar results. Children who use a media device right before bed are more likely to sleep less than they should, and that's because it gets the brain firing and then you can't fall asleep as quick. More likely to sleep poorly and more than twice as likely to be sleepy during the day. Sleep deprivation is linked to a myriad of issues, including compromised thinking and reasoning, susceptibility to illness, weight gain, and high blood pressure. It also affects mood. People who don't sleep enough are prone to depression and anxiety. Again, it's difficult to trace the precise paths of causation. Smartphones could be causing lack of sleep, which leads to depression, or the phones could be causing depression, which leads to lack of sleep. We don't know which comes first. Or some other factor could be causing both depression and sleep deprivation to rise. But the smartphone, its blue light glowing in the dark, is likely playing a nefarious role. Again, for you visual learners at home, this was a line graph of percentage of 8th, 10th, and 12th graders who get less than 7 hours of sleep most nights. And as you can see, right about 2012, it really started to go up. That brings us to this week's quote of the week, which is, life is what happens when you put down your phone. I know that you generation have been growing up on these phones. I know that there's some differing thoughts. Some people will agree with the data I just delivered the last 2 weeks. Some people will disagree. I'm encouraging everybody, myself, I've been working on it for a little bit, to put down our phone and really live life and limit our connectivity to smartphones. All right, that brings us to this week's Jelly Bean Question of the Week winners, who are Siri Fitterer, Riley Hammond, Kylie Coker, Grant Eikenberry, and Deegan Reardon. The answer to last week's Jelly Bean Question of the Week was the man himself. That one, I had to read it a few times. It was a little tricky. Also, those Jelly Bean Question of the Week winners from the week before that did not get their Jelly Beans, come see me as well. I have re-upped my supply. This week's Jelly Bean Question of the Week: name 3 consecutive days without using Sunday, Tuesday, or Thursday. If you think you know the answer, submit your answer to the Bob Box by the end of the week. Tune in next week to see if you're a winner. All right, Bobcats, let's make it a great week at the Helena Middle School.